Here's the voice of the Yankees on the television side. He's our pal Michael Kay. Michael, nice to talk. How are you? And I know you haven't specifically seen it, but you've heard all about it. This is probably the way it had to go. What's your initial thought here about the statement from A-Rod here today?
Well, I'm just disappointed for myself because I would have liked to have interviewed him and asked him all the questions I have on my mind. But as far as a play for him, Chris, I think it's a smart play. I don't think he should get into answering questions because those that don't believe him aren't going to believe any of his answers. And those that are going to be prone to forgive him, they're going to forgive him no matter what anyway. So just say this is the last time I'm going to deal with it. I'm sorry, and let's move on without giving any specifics because I think we all crave the specifics. He doesn't have to give them, though. Just go out and play, and if you can play, I think a lot of the people will quiet down.
Well, I get that, but won't this be a circus atmosphere, the fact that he hasn't answered questions yet, and you could make the argument to get it out of the way now instead of sort of inhibiting Tampa with a sort of an A-Rod circus for the first couple of days at camp? How about that aspect of it if he answered questions today?
Well, I don't think there's going to be a circus if he says I'm not answering questions. So I think what this does is that, I mean, the way I interpret this letter, I don't know if you feel differently. This is what he's going to talk about. I don't think he is going to have that sit-down interview. I mean, I might be wrong, but I think that any kind of a circus atmosphere would be definitely taken out at the knees if he's not going to talk about it. I mean, the media won't show up. They won't say anything if the Yankee PR says, listen, A-Rod says he's not talking about it.
What are your thoughts on the Yankees today? Hierarchy, Cashman, Girardi, players. How do you think they respond to what A-Rod said half hour ago?
I think that they would probably like him to talk, but if he's not going to talk at all, I think that that's just as good as him talking. Again, I just feel that it's time for him to get off his knees. He's not going to convince the people that don't like him anyway, and the people that like him are forgiving him the way it is, so he doesn't have to give any specifics. We know what he did. Major League Baseball had him dead to rights, and, I mean, the only thing he could do is say, listen, I lied, and I lied, and I kept lying. What more could he tell us? I mean, we probably just want him. I think we want our pound of flesh for the disappointment that he had and the fact that he sued Major League Baseball, sued the Players Association, sued the Yankees, sued their doctor. Everybody wants their pound of flesh, but if he doesn't want to give it, then you just move forward, and then you see if he can play.
All right, before we get to what he possibly can do and how he helps the Yankees in 2015, I think you probably agree with me. Most fans and probably most folks upstairs with the Yankees would love not to have A-Rod make the team this year. They'd love A-Rod to go away. If there wasn't the $61 million involved, they would love A-Rod to go away. You buy that, right?
I probably buy that. I just don't think they want – I don't think it would distract players. One thing that I really strongly disagree with, that is going to be a distraction of players. Chris, you've been around professional athletes your whole life. They are so self-centered. All they care about is themselves. So when they're in the batter's box, they're not thinking about A-Rod's problems or the fact that, you know, the PED stuff is front and center again. I just think it comes down to this. If he can play, I think they would embrace him, and he might be worth the $61 million. But if he's a guy who's going to hit 200 with 3 home runs and 25 runs batted in, I think they'd rather his hip pop out, and then he retires because of medical. And, you know, everybody's happy he gets paid, and the Yankees get medical insurance from it.
What do you expect here, Mike? You cover this. You'll be down there in a couple of weeks. What do you expect? Do you think A-Rod has anything left? He hasn't played. He's played 48 games in 2 years. He's 40 years old in July. He doesn't have a position right now with Headley at third base. I guess he's going to we know he's going to DH. There's a little spot there. What do you expect? A-Rod's a determined athlete. I get that. He's worked out. I get that. Do you think A-Rod has anything left? What do you expect of A-Rod in these next 6 weeks in Tampa?
Well, it's hard to tell. I mean, how long have we ever seen A-Rod when he's not using PEDs? I mean, that's the question that gets begged after this latest suspension. So I think he's a very good baseball player. I know he loves the game. But even before all of this took place, Chris, he was not getting around on good fastballs. And the game has changed. There's a lot of pitchers that throw 95 and over. I don't think that's a pitch that he can hit. And in the American League East, there's an awful lot of right-handers. There aren't that many left-handed starters. So I think best-case scenario, and I could be wrong, I say 230 to 240, maybe 14 to 15 home runs, driving in 60 runs. That's all according to how many at-bats that he gets. But in terms of him being an MVP type of player, I just don't think that Mother Nature allows that. If you're not on PEDs, when you're 40, Chris, you know what? You're 40, and there's going to be a deterioration of skills. So I'd be very surprised if he hit over 250.
Listen, I'm with you on the statistics. Here's the quandary that the Yankees are in. Let's say the hip does not pop out. Let's say that he's healthy for a 39-year-old hitter, but he has a lousy spring. Then what are the Yankees going to do?
I think they probably keep him. I think they give him the benefit of the doubt that it's just spring training. But I truly believe, Chris, that if by June he's hitting 190 and they've given him a lot of at bats, then at that point the Yankees will make a baseball decision and simply release him. I think the $61 million, the players to bring him into spring training and see if he could play. But if he can't play, despite being healthy, then I think that their first priority, as it always is to try to get into the postseason. And I think that the Steinbrenner family would then eat the $61 million reluctantly to bring in a player that would be able to produce for them and contribute.
Good job, Mike. Thanks again to the phone. Appreciate it. Thanks for the help today.
Anytime, Chris. Anytime.